When you put it like that, man, I don't know. So, actually, I am honored to be in presence of this unbelievable building and this crowd and this organization, actually. I surely am going to enjoy this moment myself, but before entertaining the moment myself, let me first introduce myself to all of you. My name is Can Öz. I am a publisher based in Istanbul, actually. I have been the general manager of Can Publishing House, a literary publishing house, for 12 years. And we are the biggest publishing house in Turkey. Being the literary publishing house, that's still amazing. And we publish, of course, worldwide authors from all over the world, including Germany, including Juve team, Daniel Kellman, Ilya Troyanov, Moritz Rinke, Hermann Hesse, and of course, Stefan Zweig. I mean, no one in their right mind would pass on publishing Stefan Zweig, right? And in the past years, we have been approached by worldwide giants, even from Germany, like Bertelsmann or Hachette Group France, Lagardère, to buy out these companies, but those deals didn't happen because all of these companies, including Socrates, Germany, is here for the satisfaction of the creation rather than satisfaction of the profits. So, among all these business ventures, I am now, I quit working for Can Publishing House as a general manager. I am now general manager of Socrates projects, including Socrates-Verleger Sportmagazin, which you see over here. But actually, this is a new cover that hasn't been out yet, and actually, it's a cover that took us about 10 weeks of work to get together, I think. And so, talking about Socrates a little bit, Socrates is a slow journalism-oriented sports culture magazine with a higher concentration on football, actually. We initially started publishing in Istanbul, but the name doesn't come from the philosopher Socrates, it comes from the Brazilian footballer Socrates from the 1980s. He's truly an amazing man. He was actually quite famous for caring about the joy in the game and the fun and the pleasure and the beauty of the game itself rather than the results, which ended up losing them the World Cup in 1986, actually. But that team is called the most beautiful team in sports history. And also, the fact that he looks good doesn't hurt. But one of the reasons also that we were named Socrates is because all of us, we're a group of friends interested in journalism, creative work, and publishing, and so on. All of us, we were all influenced by Gezi Park protests, actually. And Socrates is a guy who took charge of the club Corinthiana in 1982, and he had the club jerseys imprint the word Demokratia in the back of it. Hence comes the name Socrates-Verleger of the publishing house in Germany. So, 2 years ago, having a successful sports culture magazine in Turkey, which should be enough, right? We were actually crazy enough, as you put it well, crazy enough to decide to recreate the Socrates magazine in Germany. It's not a crazy idea just because I don't know German myself, but because German print industry actually is one of the strangest in the world. While being very volatile and very innovative, so many new products, so many new ideas coming out, actually the readership in front of all this hype of new products is quite conservative. These two usually don't come together in anywhere else in the world. So where you have a market where a new brand actually hardly makes it. And even if they do, it's usually not a long lifespan unless you're a part of a big group, right? So that also comes together with a lot of people in the industry screaming their guts out, saying, print is dying, right? We heard this over here a few times as well. So that doesn't help, right? And so why the hell did we decide to come to Germany? I mean, we could go anywhere in the world. Well, for a few reasons. One is the growth of variety in German sports industry. In any kind of sports in Germany, the interest and hype and the fandom and the investment is increasing like nowhere else before, nowhere else in the world. And second is the amount of people involved in sports, actually. Just look at the numbers of people watching games. I mean, last week it was declared that Borussia Dortmund had an average of 80,000 people in their stadium. That's #1 in the world. Bayern Munich was #3 with 74,000. Third is the number of shelves for magazines, actually. It's crazy. It's 105,000 different shelves where you can place your magazine, if you can make it, of course. Fourth is the already set readership for slow journalism. I mean, remember, we're doing a slow journalistic magazine. We're not reporting on the actual news. We're reporting on what's interesting about actual news. And fifth, the fact that people are screaming print is dying, actually that means change is on its way, and that equals opportunity. Sixth, my personal admiration for the German culture, from art, from philosophy, to civic modernity, to many other things. And last but not least, one of our major influencers while creating the magazine was Freunde, a German magazine. I mean, to me and my colleagues, to all the people who were together on that table creating the magazine, Freunde was a milestone, right? It still is, it always will be. And, well, I think anyone interested in tiny bit about sports would agree that Freunde, among other magazines around the world, such as SoFoot, Blizzard, 8x8, is just the top level of slow journalism you can get. And so Germany, in the end, is home for slow journalism in sports culture. So we came here because we wanted to take Socrates to its home. That's the real reason. And so, as a newcomer magazine of less than 2 years old in Germany, right? This is the 20th issue, it's still in print, it's not out yet. We have landed exclusive interviews with sports legends such as Sebastian Vettel, Dirk Nowitzki, Thomas Müller, Martin Keimer, Mats Hummels, Lewis Hamilton, Jürgen Klinsmann, Jerome Boateng, Nico Rosberg, Antoine Griezmann, Ralf Hasenhüttl, Stan Wawrinka, Oliver Kahn, Lukas Podolski, Gerard Houllier, Paul Breitner, and many more. It's crazy, really. You can't believe the list of people, the editors and the people working with us have created. And these are truly, truly in-depth, great interviews. Nothing short of, nothing asking about what happened in the last game. It's talking about life, it's talking about where they are, it's talking about their present state of mind. And we also had published a lot of short stories from, again, Moritz Rinke, Edgar Keretz, Garcia Marquez, Thomas Ostermeyer, Harun Faruqi, and many more. And we brought these things together in a single thematic topic in each issue, ranging from varieties such as like luck, decisions, duels, loss, hope, heroes, beginnings, change, love, hate, ego, respect, goals, pride, and such. And we arranged so that our cover and our exclusive key interviews are surrounded around this topic. But I've been talking on and on about what kind of magazine we're publishing and how great it is, right? Of course I would. I mean, I'm running it. But one question must be on your minds. I mean, this guy's talking a lot of stuff. It's like nice, but are they making this work as a business, right? Are they making a profit? Are they losing money? What the hell is going on? Well, that's the nice part. Well, we are. Starting about, well, more than a month ago, we are on the green. We are profiting. A new sports magazine with people who didn't know any German came here. Before 2 years, we started profiting. That's the interesting story, actually. I mean, a lot of people are doing a lot of new magazines, as we said. It's a volatile market, lots of innovation, lots of new products. But how, right? Well, I'll explain it how. But one could listen to it, find it interesting, might think it's pure bullshit, but it's going to be an interesting conversation for sure. But there's a shortcut. I mean, if you would be interested in publishing a magazine like that, I think the best idea would be to try to hire my editor-in-chief over there. That would be the half of the work done, because it's just thanks to his innovation and team management is that this has become a successful business already. I mean, you could try to recruit it. I think you would fail, but you can try. And I think our strength, before going to the business model a bit, our strength is in our focus in present rather than the future. I'll explain this. I mean, this is accompanied by a very flexible and versatile business model consisting of very small cells, which make it very easy for the business model to change and adapt. You would not believe how many times we have changed fundamental things about the magazine I'm giving this magazine as an example, but I run other businesses as well, much bigger, hundreds of people and so on. We know that this small cellular business model, agile model, works, of course, when put together with a good idea and with good people. And I believe no business model actually can survive without being ready to change very quickly. Not anymore, not in this century. In 20th century you could, but now it's almost impossible. You have to be very lucky to do that. And print, as opposed to what many people are saying, I think is certainly not dying. It's shrinking, of course, but nothing is dying. And it might be dying for shareholders. It might be dying for maybe some lucrative CEO positions. But we are here, and we know. I wrote a joke there. That's a really bad joke. I have no idea why I wrote that. I'm gonna scrap that. And but we know that well, anyway, it's not changing. And this 20th century corporate model, where you have this long-term vision, long-term business plans, 4-year plans, 5-year plans, sometimes even longer, and looking for profits, managing the day-to-day profits and managing the day-to-day cycles of the business. It just doesn't work anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, I don't think it can work. And as I said, for shareholders, for some investors, that might be really bad news, but for journalists, it isn't. For journalists, it's opportunity, because it means change. It doesn't mean anything is dying. And like, actually, especially this European Newspaper Congress, it was an amazing compilation of speeches. And many of you might have noticed most of the speeches had actually very little to do with journalism itself, but more to do with the business aspect of it, right? I mean, of course, journalism is more of an ethical question rather than a business proposal, right? But we have heard on and on and on about market shares and numbers and clicks and so on and so forth. Well, of course, you can't separate the business from the artisanship itself, but I think this is 20th century habits and 20th century corporationalism that puts us in a seat where profits and long-term corporational models are taking charge of the business model. That's not the world anymore. And that's actually, if you put too much focus on the business, as I said, you can't take yourself apart from it, but if you put too much focus on it, that has the potential of shadowing the core objective to report. I believe the 20th century corporate habits plague us from seeing the present, really. How much our companies will grow, right? How will our 5-year fiscal plans come to realize? How much will the market shrink? These are not concerns of reporting. These are just the concern of corporationalism that fixates us actually into a synthetic and generally inaccurate model of what is to come in the world. And, well, of course, we're talking about 20th century only, but 21st century habits, actually, the new habits of the 21st century, don't make this transition easier, because these habits, many things about 21st century, also tell us to look as far to the future as possible, not to the present. Anything relating to our lives, like we cannot even do without a calendar on our phones anymore. Or, you know, we have to arrange a reservation 2 days prior, or make reservations for vacations 3 months prior, or find school for our kids 2 years prior. Of course, don't take me wrong. I have nothing against planning, I mean, nor business models. We cannot survive without either, but this corporate language of industries, I think, is also the main reason we create organizations that cannot really survive in the face of big change anymore. So I believe very few companies in the modern world have the true agility required to adapt and survive in the long run, be it a small company or a big company. And while looking at the future with these huge binoculars and as far away as possible, we are losing all opportunities of today, and most importantly, our business models don't grow the agile muscles actually they are required to keep adapting every day. So we see here in this most amazing heaven of magazines. I have never seen a country with such great variety of magazines. I mean, I go into the Do You Read Me shop and I go really crazy. This is really the heaven. But many magazines are closing down, right? And even if not, everybody fears that many magazines will be closing down. Because they're losing money, right? I mean, that's the reason. Why would they close? Well, that looks very simple, but it's not simple at all. Because it's in the reason of why they are losing money. Again, we come back to this, the failing to adapt in your organizational structure, into innovation, into agility. And because many companies, not just in printing industry, all over, have locked themselves into these humongous organizations for which it is very difficult to change and adapt. This is the situation. The larger the smallest cell of the organization, the less agile it is, the more difficult it is to change and adapt. And the potential to change in today's world is, in my experience, really, is much more lucrative currency than the organization's size. Hence, it's one of the rare occasions where smaller is better. This is why we were actually exhilarated when we signed the marketing partnership contract with Gruner Jahr here. I believe G&J is definitely the top agile and versatile corporation here in Germany. So we were really amazed because this is a level of organizational perfection that is almost impossible to reach, especially in our minds as the group of Socrates. So when we signed the contract with them, that was the top boost actually we needed to gain confidence in the work we do. And we even opened actually, to give you an example, like how we are in awe of this partnership. We have Socrates Turkey, right? And as I said, I've been rambling on and on about adaptability and versatility. I'll give you a few practical examples. In Turkey, Socrates, we saw the market changing, so in a few months, like 3 months, we opened a digital studio. We have a studio now. We have many different programs, and we're publishing digital television programs. And the advertisement income is triple the magazine's income. We have started doing this 4 months ago. And we also opened restaurants. We decided we could turn this into a restaurant. It's called Socrates Bistro. We opened up, and now it's one of the top 10 restaurants of the country and is branching out. So this is amazing that G&J is opening a restaurant called Beef. It's like we believe that this is the best group of people and group of company we could ever hope to work with. And we feel so lucky. So, to finish it up, because I mean you have been waiting for a long time, and if we keep going, I'll have to finish my speech with Merry Christmas. I actually managed a few companies, and from small size to medium sized, but every single one of them, this agile model, well, of course, there's much more to it, but I don't want to steal all your day. Every single one of them is going on strong, and I believe Socrates Germany, das Denken ist Sportmagazin, is going to be no different. But when we talk about versatility, of course, being based in Turkey has actually a tremendous advantage for us, because the past year's hardships, the difficulties, the problems, and the worries people had, everybody living in Turkey had actually, also gave pretty much all of us, any creative and smart mind, the ability to it's an unparalleled ability to adapt and thrive and change your course. And so we have the luck of having amazing minds working with us. Some of them, of course, are in Germany. We work with a lot of people based in Germany, not just all Turks, because we can't do it with Turks. It's a German magazine. But we have a lot of people working in different areas, mostly artists, designers, layout designers, people who manage the finance, and we get a lot of support from them. And we have this organization that can shift and change its structure so quick you can't believe, as I said with this digital production story. And so I think this is why I believe there's no other reason than that. For the biggest corporations that we know now that have bases in Turkey, that are doing headhunting like there's no tomorrow. It's crazy human resource pool that's almost untapped, and that gives us actually unmatched strength and versatility. I took all your time. This was the last speech of the organization, I think, and thank you for listening. Glad to be here.